What's up, people? This is Bryce from the Biz Podcast, and well, I'm live for I would say about the first time. Yeah, coming to you tonight with a review for Uncanny X-Men 2018 issues 1 and 2. Yeah, I, I don't even know what to say about this book. I mean, I'm gonna do my best, guys, to actually give a good review. Try to be as okay. Now I can't be unbiased because yeah, this book is trash. These books, they're they're trash, like legit trash. Okay, I guess let's get started with the travesty of these books. So I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm going to be using digital copies of the book. I bought them physically, but I don't really want to turn my camera on and flip through the pages and everything. So I'll be using um, digital copies of the books. All right, guys. Okay, give me a second. And all right, so this is issue 1 of Uncanny X-Men, and yeah, let's get started on this. I don't even know what to say about this travesty. Actually, guys, give me one quick second. Let me just tweet this out, just so you know. I actually can get people in here because as of right now, I'm live streaming by myself, which is cool. I don't mind that because you got to start off somewhere, get a following somehow. So, and I mean, even if we just start off with the cover, let's start off with the cover, right? The cover is just it's bland. Like we have this Kurt Russell wannabe lookalike Kurt Wagner. Yeah, I just caught that. But he really does look like a Kurt Russell wannabe. And I don't know if they were like intentionally going for that. I mean, come on, let's get a closer look at this Kurt Russell wannabe that is that doesn't work. Okay. I don't know why this doesn't work anymore. But we're gonna get a closer look, just a tad bit closer. Look at this. Like this is not Nightcrawler. Since when did this become Nightcrawler? What is he? Is he about to hit them with Psylocke's um, mind knife? Because that's how his hand is portrayed. Like is he saluting? Like what is he doing here? Then you have everybody with the white eyes whited out. I mean, is that supposed to be a stylistic choice? I would say okay, and let me let me just touch on the terrible, terrible hair of Jean Grey, but not just the hair. What is this outfit? Like ever since she came back, I've been trying to figure out what in the hell gave the artist the impression that this is a fucking great costume for her. Excuse the language. I'm trying let me try not to curse on here. But what gave the impression that this is a great costume for her? Like, I mean, like, look at this. Look at this. This is just it's ugly, it's bland. They've given her some amazing Phoenix costumes. Some amazing Phoenix costumes. And let's take a look just real quick because we're on a live stream, so we got time. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick, and then I'm gonna go. Let's find some amazing costumes for Jean Grey. So we have, all right, now I'm about to, let's share the screen one more time now. This time, I don't got nothing open that you guys, wouldn't care to see. So it's not that bad. All right, so we got we got the original Dark Phoenix costume, with the red. Let's get this in a bigger. Oh no, we don't care about that. We just want the image. Maybe that's all we want. That's all we want is the image. All right, so yeah. So look at this, right? Great costume. Great costume. It's simple. You got the Phoenix symbol, the coloring. I mean, the hair, like this is dynamic. This is a dynamic cover, right? You know, let's go look at the classic, uh, then the original classic suit. You know, we got this, which is the green and the green and the gold. And that's still, once again, amazing suit, amazing suit. And then we got this, and you're just like, what the fuck is that? Like, what is this? I just okay. Then let's go to my issue of, so this is Psylocke. So if she looks a tad bit different to you guys, that's because they decided that, screw the Psylocke that we've known for years and years and years of um the Asian Psylocke, which, if you didn't know the backstory to why a British woman was in an Asian woman's body. All right, so years ago in an old storyline, the writer, he decided to, it was supposed to be a very short storyline, right? Very short little thing where they transferred Betsy Braddock's consciousness into the body of this Asian woman, and then transferred the Asian woman's consciousness into the body of Betsy Braddock and her original British body, right? And then they killed her, the the original body, Asian woman in Betsy Braddock's original body. Then they killed her, right? And so Betsy was stuck in the Asian woman's body, which was Psylocke that everyone knows. And originally, they actually planned to to bring her back and put her in her original body. But the writer left, and then they kind of forgot, right? Legitimately forgot that they were supposed to do that. And so they just kind of rolled with it. And the fans liked it because it was some wild, crazy story that, it was some comic stuff that happens in comics. So it was like, all right, cool, we just gonna roll with it. This British woman's in this Asian woman's body. Let's just roll with it. And people loved it. People enjoyed it. It was amazing in terms of just the way they drew her, the issues that she originally dealt with, being a British woman in an Asian woman's body, and then this year in the Hunt for Wolverine storyline, they decided, nah, we're gonna bring her back and put her into her original body, which is like, all right, that could not be that big of a problem, except she went from having a very distinct face. Like let's look at an image of Betsy Braddock. Um, so look at an image of Betsy Braddock. Her very distinct face. Like, look. So this, right? This is okay. I was trying to get a very good image, but this is what she looks like. Kind of like the difference between her British and her Asian. And I'm sorry if I have to say that her British body, face, everything looks better. She was distinct. She was a very distinct character. She had a distinct face. Even if we go back and look at something like, okay, perfect. Let's look at that. We have that. That's very, like I said, very distinct Psylocke, a very distinct Psylocke, which is what we liked, you know. And now we got this, which is just kind of like looks like every other white female. All right, I'm gonna move off the cover now. Let's get okay. Yes, and this is let's just take a real quick second to understand this story. This storyline is being brought to you by Ed Brisson, Matthew Rosenberg, and Kelly Thompson. Three different writers with three different styles who, understandably, after reading this first issue, should have never, ever been put on an X-Men title together. Arguably, probably shouldn't. Matthew Rosenberg definitely should have never been put on an X-Men title at all. Like, I've read the first two issues of his New Mutants, Dead Souls, and I was just like, yeah, this dude is mediocre. Like, I'm sorry, he's just mediocre. Ed Brisson, I haven't read anything that he's written for the X-Men because I've given up. I've 100% given up on the X-Men as of late. I went back, I think, like here's just like let's give a little bit of history right now on my my take on the X-Men and my love of the X-Men. So I started, you know, back in the 90s as a kid. Like the show started what 92, the animated series started in 92, the year I was born. And as a kid growing up, I used to watch it because of, you know, reruns and stuff on channels. And you know, that was my first taste of X-Men. That's how I came up into X-Men. And so with that, I didn't really get into the comics for a long time after that, just because I didn't really get into comics for a long time in general. But I always watched the shows, been watching the movies. You know, I had a very good understanding of what the X-Men were, because at least back then the shows were very consistent with the characterization of the characters and how they were in terms of the comics. They were very consistent. So once the movies came out, the movies were, you know, a tad bit off. Like Rogue was absolutely not Rogue. We all know that. Wolverine, great characterization, didn't look anything like him, but you know, that was one of the things. Kurt Nightcrawler was amazing in the movies. Storm was I'm sorry, Halle Berry. I can never get over Halle Berry's um role in X-Men 1, where for about 3/4 of that movie she tried to have an African accent, and then the last fourth of it she completely dropped it, and then every movie after that it was gone. And it's just jarring when you watch it over again, because you're just like, wait, but what happened to the accent? Like, you had it for like 3/4 of the entire movie, then it's gone. So yeah, Halle Berry was she's a great actress, just wasn't the greatest choice of Storm for me. But you know, so that was where I started with the X-Men. Then when I finally got into comics, first where I started was Avengers Disassembled, because I was like, you know, I really wanted to get, I started getting into it around the time Civil War had just finished. I think um Siege was going on. I think the storyline Siege was going on, but I really wanted to know, like, how did it actually get to Siege? So I went back and I just went through the entire comics, entire history of what kind of led up to that. So for me, I started with Avengers Disassemble, and that was, you know, of course, the storyline with where the Avengers team decides to break up, because if I'm not mistaken, trying to remember, I think it has something to do with Clint dying, um, and then Wanda kind of losing her shits, and that of course led into House of M. And House of M. So that was my first major X-Men title in the comics. And that set the tone for me for my love From like I said, I always already had a love for the X-Men, but that set the tone for me truly. Um, about that set the tone for me for my new love of the X-Men comics. Give me 1 second, guys. So yeah, that really set my love. That really set the tone for my love of the X-Men. And that first storyline, the House of M, and it's crazy because I actually just went and grabbed the floppy issues from a back from my actual local shop that I go to. They had them on in a short box for $1 each. Grabbed all the entire main series, which is what, 8 issues, and then I'll be grabbing the trades soon after that. Um, and that, like I said, that set the tone for me, just in terms of the X-Men, the kind of crazy dynamic that was really popular with them. The family aspect of them. So I mean, that entire storyline is about Magneto trying to, kind of help his daughter cope in a very, essentially very toxic way. And I know me using the term toxic, but he was trying to help her in a toxic way, where it's like he was unintentionally being toxic to her, trying to help her. But of course, that obviously led into the the three famous words, the arguably the second three most famous words in the last almost 20 years of Marvel history, because of course the first one is uh, one more day, and we will never talk about that track. Well, we'll talk about that one day where I'm ranting on about why those are the worst three words in the history of comics. But No More Mutants, on the other hand, some of the best three words in the history of comics, in terms, especially for the X-Men. Like, 'cause I get why they they did that storyline in X-Men because they had too many mutant characters, and so they wanted to dial it back to a point where there was a more manageable cast of X-Men, mutants, and X-Men characters and mutants in general. So they was like, okay, we're just gonna come up with a storyline to kind of decimate them, thus the leading to decimation storyline. But those famous three words and then the decimation storyline. And it was like, all right, this is like I said, as a jumping in point, I already knew history of the X-Men from watching the TV show. So, I knew the Phoenix storyline, I knew the Dark Phoenix storyline, I knew all of that. I had already been done research a long time ago. I just never really read the comics. So, but I knew about it. Like, of course, I know about, the Apocalypse storyline. I knew all about that stuff. And so I get into that, and from there it's just full steam ahead. Like I'm just like, oh yes, this X-Men is great. Like like I missed the Grant Morrison run, I missed the Joss Whedon run. I'm actually going back and getting into that stuff now. But I missed those run at the time, which I know set the stage for where the X-Men were going. Introducing Emma Frost as a teammate of the X-Men, and Cyclops' girlfriend after Jean died and everything. And so I was like, all right, I was loving it. And then I kept going, and I read everything for the X-Men, like, except really, I didn't really get into the X-Force that much. I got into it I was reading it, and then I stopped at the Uncanny X-Force, which hindsight is 2020. I stopped at the wrong time with Uncanny X-Force, because now that I have those, oh man, I'm gonna absolutely be doing a review on those and how amazing Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force run is. But okay, guys, I'm gonna try to speed this up so I can actually get to this, main review. So just so you guys won't have to, let's look at the second cover too. Yeah, yeah. You guys see that? You see how trash. Like, you guys, let's really just stop right now. Let's stop for a second in my rant, and let's just look at the cover, the main cover from issues 1 to 2. This is the main cover for issues 1 and 2 because they are so exceptionally creatively challenged that they decided to go with the exact same cover. All they did was change the color of the background, change the bottom of the background, but the still same layout, same color, just replaced all of the characters with Jamie Maddox. Literally, as you can see, literally. This is the worst. Try not to curse. This is the worst thing I have seen. This is an indicator of how absolutely just creatively challenged Marvel is right now. This is the best that they could do for their main covers. It'd be different if this was a variant. This would be I would entirely accept if this was a variant. But this is not a variant. This is the main cover of Uncanny X-Men. This is the cover that I bought at the store. This is not a variant. See, I bought the variant for the first issue, and I actually bought the let me show you guys. I'm gonna turn my camera on just for a hot second. Just for a hot second to show you guys, right? The variant cover that I bought for the first issue. And you see this right here, variant cover, a throwback to Dave Cochran's art from the original X-Men series, right? And just so you can see, of course, got the X-Men shirt on, just because I have to talk about the travesty that it is. But look at this. This is a great cover, throwback. As you can see, my boy Thunderbird, he's dead. Yeah, if you guys know about that first arc in Chris Claremont's run. Yeah, rest in peace, Thunderbird. Uh, and then, right, so I'm gonna, turn that back off now. Turn the screen share back on. So yeah, let's look at the same. See, guys, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time to just bask in the glory of this second cover because yeah, it's great. But yeah, so back to my story time real quick about my history of the X-Men. So yeah, after getting to the decimation storyline and just kind of really reading about all the things that was happening to the X-Men, and then couple years later, Messiah Complex started. And I was like, oh, this is freaking amazing. Like, this is so great. And I'm reading about, Cyclops and how he's taking over the X-Men mantle after Charles is gone. He's kind of given up on it. He's taken over the X team. And Scott feels like he has to take it upon himself to keep the mutants alive at the decimation. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about, baby. Like, this is great storytelling. This is X-Men. This is, this is that like out of everything, the new runs, the those like kind of that storyline from starting with House of M all the way to which technically ended in Avengers versus X-Men, that storyline and Scott's journey through it is what made me love Scott as a character, what made him become my second favorite X-Men after Psylocke, which is part of why I hate this so much. But let's get you. Oh, okay. We'll get into the travesty of this for a second too. Um, so this started my, that really started my love because I mean you had Scott dealing with the Nation X storyline, Utopia, creating Utopia, dealing with all of that. Then came Schism, and it was just like, oh. Then I mean, you had him dealing with the when he had taken charge of the X Force team, had Wolverine actually going out doing all those the things that he as the X leader couldn't do himself. You know, that was truthfully just an amazing character journey for Scott. And Emma Frost just being right there by his side when Jean was gone. It was great. And then him still being couldn't, really getting over Jean, couldn't really get over Jean because, his love for her, she was his first and truthfully his one true love. But so, I'm reading all of this and I'm really just falling in love with the X-Men teams. And I mean, and part of it absolutely had to do with Brew Baker coming on, with Fraction coming on, because I had really taken to Fraction after reading his Iron Man run. So I was ecstatic when he came and took over on Uncanny X-Men. And it was, it was cool. It was great. And then even besides the Scott stuff, you had the Wolverine and the X-Men after Schism. So you had that side, and you had all the things that was happening on that side of the equation. And it was just, oh man, it was great. That was some different X-Men stories from what I had already gotten in the cartoons and the movies and stuff. And then Avengers versus X-Men happened. Oh no, sorry. Let me go back just a quick tad bit. So yeah, Messiah Complex, then Messiah War, and then the amazing Second Coming with Cable and Hope Summers traversing through the timelines, trying to run away from Bishop. Like, come on, it was so great, and Hope became one of my top 5 favorite X characters. After that, her relationship with Cable was amazing. Cable and his dad relationship throughout that storyline was amazing. Everything about like the Messiah Complex, Messiah War, Second Coming, Generation Hope stuff, loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then we get to the downfall, the start of the downfall of the X books. 2012 Avengers versus X-Men story. Okay, let's talk about that just for a hot second. Couple words for it. Hot garbage. Steaming pile of cat dungus that should have never even came out of its body. I don't even understand how it was birthed to this world. I'm talking about, and I say what you want. I'm talking like I don't, I want to say I don't believe in abortion, but I believe that Avengers versus X-Men should have been aborted in the creators room. The moment the moment somebody said, "Hey, we're gonna do Avengers versus X-Men," all right, you're fired. That's what should happen. That's exactly what should happen. It should have been, we're going, hey guys, I got a great idea. Okay, what's the idea? Avengers versus X-Men. You're fired. Get the fuck out the office now. Like, that's what should have happened, but that's not what happened. Instead, we got Avengers versus X-Men. It was terrible. I mean, Scott killing Professor X, that just, it was bad. It was really bad. And then what, to make matters worse, the way everyone treated Scott, the way they wrote everyone treating Scott like it was his fault. Like, it was like, somehow it was his fault that he killed Professor X under the influence of the Phoenix. Because let's all remember, Jean Grey, under the influence of the Dark Phoenix, killed an entire planet. Not just one person. She murdered an entire planet and then died and then came back to life. And everyone treated her like nothing happened except, the people whose planet she killed, and the Shi'ar Empire, because they were not too happy about that. But all of the rest of the characters, understood she was under the influence of the Dark Phoenix. She didn't know what she was doing. It wasn't her fault. Yada yada. Right. But Cyclops kills Professor X under the same influence, and literally from that moment on, his character was destroyed. They just ruined his character because everyone treated him like a pariah. Everyone treated him like he was the reason why all the bad things were happening in the world. And I'm just like that. You literally already have done this storyline of somebody killing someone under the influence of the Phoenix Force, and you guys didn't ostracize them. You got look at Jean Grey now. Jean Grey is beloved all of a sudden. She comes back to life again after dying again because Jean Grey is just, she can't stay dead. And I'm happy about her not staying dead. I wish they would actually stop trying to kill her now. But she comes back to life in the absolute most boring Phoenix Resurrection book, also written by Matthew Rosenberg. Once again, this is why I say he should never write X-Men books, because the dude is boring. His writing is boring. That Phoenix Resurrection, I was so happy to get it. Oh, with such an amazing cover. And then the book is boring. I was just like, oh, this is stupid. And you know what? Now that I think about it, having read that, I can see where he comes in his story, and where he as a writer comes in with this new Uncanny X-Men storyline, because it's boring, just like his work. It's all over the place. It doesn't really, nothing really happens. They taken, at least in that at least in that Phoenix Resurrection story, he took a idea that probably could have been finished in 2 to 3 issues, stretched it out over 5, and it was dumb. It's very dumb. And I'm getting a similar vibe from this Uncanny X-Men story, where it's like they're stretching out. I can just tell from the first 2 issues, they're stretching out a story that probably could be done in about 5 issues over 10. Maybe they'll change my mind, because I'm going to keep reading it. As much as it pains me physically, makes me ill, makes my head hurt to actually read this boring story, I will continue reading it. But through all of this, all of the terrible things that they've done to the X-Men over these last 6 years, there was a little bit of light, just a tad bit. Because even though I hated the way they wrote Cyclops' character, the way they destroyed his character after Avengers versus X-Men, I couldn't help but really enjoy his team in Uncanny X-Men. Though, oh man, the hatred that Wolverine had for him because of him killing Professor X was just. This is the same Wolverine who was still in love with Jean Grey after she murdered the planet, but so yeah, I I don't even know. I don't even know what to say, except yeah. So back to, even through all of that, even through what we got with, then we had Bendis. Oh my God, we had Bendis come in and bring the original 5 X-Men back, which led to Bendis having Jean Grey. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this because this is what happened. Bobby Drake did not decide to become gay. He was not revealed to have been gay all along. Bobby Drake was mind raped into believing he is gay. I read the issue. If you read the issue, she says, "Hey Bobby, yeah, you're gay." He's like, "No, I'm not." She's like, "Yes, you are. I read it in your mind. Weren't you supposed to not do that?" "Yeah, but I just wanted to read it I just needed to read your mind and tell you that you're gay, but I'm not." "Yes, you are." Oh, maybe I am gay. Huh. She mind raped him into believing that he's gay. I'm sorry. There's no way around that. That's what she did. And of course, people championed it like, oh, this is so amazing. No, it was dumb. It was stupid. And it just continued the downward spiral that the X-Men books had already begun. Because looking back on it, the all new X-Men with the original five team, it was stupid. It was vastly stupid. It was a dumb way to bring back Jean Grey instead of having the balls to actually bring back Jean Grey. They just and it was, oh, let's bring back a good Cyclops, and it was ruined Beast character. It did so much, and then there's okay. So then there's what storyline is this now? Where am I at? Then after that, I don't even know after that because I just stopped reading it. I stopped reading it after that because I was done. Then I tried to come back with Extraordinary X-Men. I read the Death of X story where they killed Cyclops, and I hated it with a passion. Might have hated it. So the storyline wasn't bad. That's the sad part. The Death of X storyline, in terms of the plot, what happened wasn't bad. It was just Emma Frost reasoning, Cyclops, like everything just everything was done poorly. The actual story could have been done great, but the actual way it was done poorly. So now finally brings us to Uncanny X-Men. Because like I said, I skipped all of that. I skipped X-Men Blue. I read the first volume of X-Men Gold because I skipped X-Men Blue because as I said, I was done with the original five. After that crap that they pulled with Jean Grey and Bobby, I was done. I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm 100% done with this. So skip that. Oh, and let's real quick. Let's just talk, right? Let's just talk for a quick second about the fact that they Jean Grey convinced teenage Bobby that he was gay. Then all of a sudden, adult Bobby believes he's gay too. But if we remember, they had by that point already come to the conclusion that the X-Men of the past were not the direct past of the X-Men in the present. Meaning, what happened to past X Bobby would absolutely not change anything of present Bobby. So their whole past Bobby believing he's gay, and all of a sudden now present Bobby believes he's gay too, made no sense because it wouldn't change anything. It literally wouldn't affect present Bobby at all because they're not in the same freaking timeline. They had already established that. Then they kept going with it and established it even more that they are not in the same freaking timeline. They are not of the same timeline. So yes, oh, that is my rant for that. It is just dumb. I hate it so much. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says. I hate how they changed Bobby in the most asininely stupid way. All right, let's get to this Uncanny X crap because this is what we get, right? This is what we get. Okay, we get two. So we get two pages, right, of people of Maddox being murdered by everyone, right? 2 pages of Maddox being murdered by everyone, and this never happens. Like as of yet, 2 issues in, this scene never happens. This is a great panel. This is a great page, but it never happens. Then we cut because like I said, this story is the pacing and story layout is all over the place in this issue, in issues 1 and 2. Okay, so we're gonna I'm gonna go through a couple so you won't, so I won't get copyright struck. So in this first issue, um, there's some senator or the government has come up with a virus, no, a vaccine, because we all didn't watch X-Men 3, where there was a literal vaccine that could cure mutants of their mutant gene, because none of us watched X-Men 3, right? Like, none of us. No, these are X fans, right? So as the back of issue 2 stated, the editors are all X fans. So I assume no, no, no. I wouldn't even assume that they watched X-Men 3, because they're probably not real X fans, because they probably really don't actually care about X-Men or comics. I'm sorry. Because yeah, telling them, hey, you remember that storyline in X3 where the government created where the some private research facility created a vaccine uh, to cure mutants, and you remember when Magneto was trying to kidnap kidnap the vaccine and stop it from happening, and then you remember when wait, but wait, here's how, once again, uncreative they are. So I'm about to explain the last little bits of X3. So yeah, so they find out the government's creating this vaccine, cures the X gene, right? Magneto is like, hell no, we're finding this shit, and we're gonna destroy this. So there's the infamous, bridge scene in X3, which is the greatest scene in that whole movie, where Magneto literally moves an entire bridge to get to this facility on this island over there in New York. And so then the X-Men band together, and they're like, yeah, we got to go stop him from destroying this facility and vaccine that is going to no. Oh, they were going to save the stupid kid. But suffice to say, the bad guys, Magneto's team, Brotherhood of Mutants, were going to destroy the vaccine, and the X-Men went to stop them from destroying the vaccine and the originator of the vaccine. This is X3, the last stand, right? It's a storyline, at least part of it. That's the very end. So X2, so Uncanny X-Men, issue 1, the team led by Kitty Pryde. Oh yeah, because Kitty was in X3 too, by the way. If you don't remember, the trash ass Ellen Page played her. Yeah, Ellen Page in that movie sucked. Um, and she still sucks now, because she's a fucking SJW. And so the X team with the young X mutants led by Kitty, and I see this panel, and I gotta show you guys. I'm gonna show you guys in a second. Not yet, not yet. I'm gonna. So this team led by Kitty with the young X-Men, what are they doing in this first issue? They are going to a facility to stop the Brotherhood of evil mutants from breaking in and destroying the facility to destroy the vaccine that was created to cure mutants of the X gene. So if those two plots sound eerily similar, it's because they're the exact same fucking thing. I know I said I wasn't impressed, but this is bringing it out of me. They're the exact goddamn same thing. The three freaking writers came up with the exact same plot X3 came up with 12 years ago. The movie came out in 2006, but 9 times out of 10, the script was probably written in 2004. Thus, of course, about 2 years. So, from um, filming to production to all of that to when the movie comes out in 2006. Script was probably written around sometime around 2003, 2004. So three three people took three freaking people to come up with at least part of a plot that X-Men 3 The Last Stand came up with 12 years ago. And I don't even know if the X-Men Last Stand was based off of a book, because I didn't know until just recently that X-Men 2 was actually based off of Chris Claremont's God Loves, Man Kills storyline. So their X2 could be based off of another storyline other than the butchering of Dark Phoenix. But either way, so we get the same exact storyline that this book that X3 did 12 years ago. Now let's get on to this. So see this art, right? Very undynamic. I mean, look at the X ship. Like, look at the goddamn X ship. We've seen much better art of the X ship. Like, this is the level of art Marvel is allowing for their flagship book. I mean, okay. Marvel has a few flagship titles that literally lead the pack of books for their company. Out of like 80 something books that they drop a month, right? Those titles are Amazing Spider-Man, Uncanny X-Men, or whatever X-Men flagship book there is. 1 and 2. Those are the two top selling books of Marvel all the time. Spider-Man and whatever flagship X-Men book there is, 9 times out of 10 being Uncanny X-Men, unless it's, New X-Men was Grant Morrison's run, was a flagship for a while. Astonishing X-Men was a flagship for a while. All New X-Men, Wolverine X, all of those, right? Different flagships, but either way, they brought back Uncanny X-Men as the flagship title. So Spider-Man, Uncanny X-Men, Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk. Those are their flagship titles, right? Those 7. Those are the titles that, realistically, the only titles that really sell are Spider-Man, X-Men, and Avengers. But those are their flagship titles, like how DC has Superman, Batman, Action Comics, Detective Comics, Flash, Justice League, Green Lantern, Aquaman, I would say are the flagship titles, right? And then like anything, like the same with those. The only titles that sell are Batman, the Batman books, Superman books, Justice League. Everything else is, middling under that. So X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, as they put it themselves, it's the return of the flagship X-Men title. One of the top books in Marvel's entire freaking catalog. And this is the freaking art we get. Look at this shit. And now, let's go to Heidi, Oya, as they call her, as her code name is. But Heidi is her name. She's a character that originated in the Generation Hope storyline as one of the 5 Lights of Hope. And she was a great character. She's, her character is basically, she has the power to control temperature, essentially, where she can control heat on one side and cold on the other side. This is what they've done. This is how they draw her now. Everybody else actually gets drawn pretty well. This is how they draw her now. I mean, first off, what is this? What is, I don't even know how you do your body like that. Like, that just looks like it hurts. But this is how they draw her. Like, they can't decide if she's a man or a woman. They don't know if she's a teenage boy or a teenage woman. They just can't figure it out. The artist can't freaking figure it out. And the editor said, "Oh, that's perfect. That's okay." Now, let's go look at what Heidi actually looks like, or what she used to look like uh, back in the day when other artists get a hand on her. Let's look at a young Heidi, okay? Let's look at a young Heidi, a Heidi around the same age. Look at this. This is a young Heidi. Looks like a woman. Got the black hair, looks like a black girl. Just like a nice little young black girl, right? Boom. Perfect. Nice drawing of her. You have another drawing of her. See, once again, not even with the different hairstyle. Nice, facial features, facial structure, still looks like a woman. Got the lips. She still looks like a woman in the face, right? Because, and then of course, the infamous, like, this is one of the best drawings of her as an adult. This is her, if I'm not mistaken, this is from one of the storylines where they went to the future and Heidi's full-fledged X-Men member, right? And look at that. I mean, honestly, she kind of looks like Livewire from the Valiant universe. If any of you have know anything about Livewire, she looks very much like Livewire in this picture, especially with the braids in this one. But let's look. Let's just keep going. We can find so many other pictures of Heidi. Um, this one, not I wasn't a fan of this hairstyle, this depiction of her, but it's perfect. She still looks like a woman. Still looks like an actual female. Um, there's this one, another one where she's older again, X-Men member older. She got the dreads popping. Looks like a woman. Like no matter how they like, everybody's drawn her a little differently, but so this is when this is when Generation Hope storyline, Generation Hope #1. This is her original, drawing. Okay. Everyone's drawn her like she's supposed to be drawn, looking like a woman. Another older one of her. Uh this is another older one of her. No, that's the thing. She might be younger at this point. I think she might actually be a tad bit younger, but this is what Heidi looks like. This is how she's drawn. She's drawn very similarly across all of her books. Across all the books, Heidi is drawn very similarly, except in some of the newer trash all new X-Men titles where they started destroying her looks. This is the downfall of where they start destroying her looks. You have this is what she looks like. I said, looks like a woman in every single one. Then we get this. Then we get this. Or let's go back. Let's go issue 2, the this shit right here. Uh this this right here. This. What is this? Once again, can't they couldn't decide, is she a man, she a boy, she a girl? We don't know because they've destroyed her character because they don't care. This is what happens when you allow these retards, sorry, let me not say that. When you allow these degenerates who don't actually care, who have terrible art skills. I'm sorry. I can't draw. I can't. But you know what? I've seen people I've seen manga artists who draw 19 pages a week with 2 assistants, 1 assistant, no assistants, draw better than this. Imagine that. Let's really stop and think about that. 19 pages a week, sometimes by themselves, every week, and they still draw better than this. So we get to this. Kitty all of a sudden gets, let's go back to the story now. Kitty just disappears. They crash into the facility, effectively blowing it up themselves. And then we keep jumping. And then once again, they jump back and forth, which is the jumping back and forth isn't the problem. The problem is they're trying to run multiple storylines by dragging out. They're trying to drag out this storyline by running multiple different things that are happening all at the same time, and it's just it's stupid. And I haven't even gotten to the dialogue yet. I'm still going on the storyline and some of the art. We go from this, which is like look at this. They can draw all the other girls looking like actual women. Then they draw Heidi. Oh man, it sucks. It sucks so much, right? And then we get, you got to be kidding me. What? It's the Brotherhood of New Evil Mutants for whatever reason. Yeah. And oh, okay. So storyline wise, it sucks. I mean, this is just it's bad. Okay, do I love that Lorna's back? They finally brought back Polaris. Love it. Love that they finally brought back Polaris. But it doesn't excuse everything else. It absolutely doesn't excuse everything else. And then all so pretty much the young ex babies, they come, you get the crap beat out of them by this trash um wannabe Brotherhood of Evil Mutants group. Let's stop for a second and talk about, it's been 14 years since they've been introduced, around roughly 14, 15 years since this group of X-Men, the younger X-Men, have been introduced. 14 to 15 years since they've been introduced. And not one writer has decided to say, you know what? Even if we don't make them full-fledged X-Men yet, we can at least make them competent X-Men. New Mutants came out. They were young, they were new, fledgling, but guess what? They had storylines and they were competent. They, even when they were treated like, younger characters, they were competent. I mean, look at Cannonball. Cannonball's a main X-Men. Sunspot's a main X-Men. Danny Moonstar lost her powers, so she's, who knows what she's doing. Wolfsbane's, nah, she's not really a new X-Men anymore. Magic has been a full-fledged X-Men for a long time. It's not impossible for them to have stepped them up and said, you know what, they're full-blown X-Men. Let's take this new opportunity for the Uncanny X-Men. If we're going to do this, let's build these new characters up. Let's build the younger ones up again to be full-fledged, competent X-Men. Nope. They can't even beat this literally this bargain basement, back alley abortion group of Brotherhood of Evil Mutant characters. They couldn't even beat them. They got beat up by them. Who saves them? The young groups come, the older members come in and save them. Kurt, all of a sudden, Laura. So Laura hasn't been an X-Men character as long as the other younger ones, but Laura's a full-fledged X-Men character because reasons. So Polaris, Nightcrawler, X-23 come in. Them three alone save the day. How? By Lorna throwing Laura at them as they all perfectly line up in a stupid row for her to take them all out at once. This, when I say this is a travesty to storytelling, a travesty to the X-Men characters, to the legacy of the X-Men. This is it. This is why. This is why. So then we once again jump to another thing of what's happening. Oh, they're at a rally. There we go. They're at a rally where this senator is trying to hype the crowd up about why the X vaccination is great, why the mutant gene vaccination should be given to children to stop them from developing mutant power so they can live a normal life, because we all want to continue dealing with mutants versus human hatred still. We've been dealing with this same storyline for 40 years. Okay? We've been dealing with this same storyline for 40 years. They still have not given it up. Still to this day, have not given up this storyline. Been dealing with it for 40 years now. And we get this bit of dialogue. Because the other problem with this story, right? Not just the fact that the pacing is off, the story is bland and recycled from older stuff. The mystery is dumb. That's not even it. That's not even the worst part. The art, that's not the worst part. All of that could be excused if we had if we had amazing writers or writer on the title. When you read this book, every single character is the same. Every single one of them. They all banter. They all joke. They all sound like the same character, which is another problem with Matthew Rosenberg's writing. All his characters that sound the same. So let's get this. Oh boy, this is Jubilee, right? Oh boy, I feel like I've seen this speech a million times, Bishop. When are they going to just let it go already? And why does it always feel like the same boring politician in a suit giving it? These are all excellent questions, Jubilation. Right? I already agreed with you. Let's not push it. That you spent 2 panels, right? 2 panels just to say that, just to say all of that. Like, okay, that wouldn't be the problem at all. Then you get this conversation between Warren and Betsy because they've completely, totally forgotten that Betsy Braddock and Warren had a relationship that was very, very much built on love, trust, and the fact that Betsy was helping him keep Archangel in check. This is Angel, this guy. I may have to fly away if I can't control my temper, Betsy, because that's Warren. Yeah. Betsy, don't you dare, Warren. Jubilee is on the verge of throwing tomatoes she smuggled in. If you leave me here with that PR nightmare, I will never bloody forgive you. Because Psylocke has always talked like a British woman, even though she hasn't talked like a British woman in a long time. But hey, put her back in her British body. Let's make her talk British now all of a sudden. Warren, damn. I wish I thought to bring tomatoes. Like, okay, that little bit right there, that bit that they did, because it's a bit, that is something that Bobby would have said, right? And that would have been cool coming from Bobby. The problem is, every single character banters in this book. Every single character banters. I'm talking that terrible Joss Whedon banter where nothing that they say actually matters. Nothing that these characters say in these books actually matters because everyone is just bantering and making jokes the entire time. Stakes are happening. People are getting their butts kicked. People are playing like they freaking crashed the plane into the building. Oh, let's just joke about the fact that one of the evil Brotherhood of Mutant characters that we're fighting has 4 arms, which is cool. Rockslide does that. But here's the problem. In the book where Jubilee and Bishop banter, Warren and Betsy banter. Let's see. Um, let's see. Oh, rock slide, and forearms banter. If you had six arms, which you have been called six pack, where does it end? Do you realize what they manufacture in this lab? What it is that you're protecting? Don't know? Don't care. Okay. Let's go back a little bit more. Let's see. Oh, then they wild side banters. Everyone banters with they call him forearm. Yeah, no, I was right. They call every single character freaking banters. Okay. You're oh my god. Let's not even talk about you're on the wrong side of history here, kid thing, because that's something that we want to hear and in everything. Okay. Like there's so much I can keep going on and on about, but this live stream's already getting a little bit long in the tooth. Um, you know, this is okay. So then we get once again we get Jean Grey and Bobby banter. Depends. He says, "You want me to go? Depends. Will you talk about the vaccine or do a 10 minutes comedy set you've been workshopping?" Well, I was gonna go for a type 5, but yeah, definitely not the vaccine thing. Like banter, banter. It's nothing but banter. And then when they do talk, it's boring because everybody is the same. No character is distinguishable. Let's add this to let's I'm going to compare it to I've just been reading the Uncanny X-Force run by Rick Remender. And the team consists of Archangel, Betsy Braddock, Psylocke, Wolverine, Phantom X, and Deadpool. And Deadpool and Phantom X are the two that banter. And they don't even banter because most of the time the other characters don't banter with them back. The other characters say something that is like, hey, we're annoyed, essentially. Phantom X and Deadpool are the only ones. And Deadpool doesn't really banter because Deadpool is just Deadpool. He just spouts random things that in the context usually actually makes some type of sense. They're just random. Phantom X is the only one that really kind of banters. Wolverine banters with Phantom X a tad bit, but that's their relationship in terms of that story. And it works because they banter sparingly. The rest of the 90% of the time, they're talking about the mission. They're talking about the stakes. They're talking about what's going on. They're giving gravity to the situation. They're not bantering in the middle of battle. Deadpool does it, but that's because Deadpool banters in everything, no matter what's happening. But for the rest of them, they're not bantering in the middle of battle. When they're dealing with things, they're yelling. They're yelling at each other. They're telling each other, "Hey, do this. Hey, I need you to do that." Like that's how you write characters. You write the characters depending on the situation in terms of how they talk. Like you don't have characters bantering in a situation that is supposedly serious. So we get, these characters. Another, she kind of looks like a woman, but kind of not. The only way you can tell that she's a woman is that they draw tiny little thingies on her. Yeah, we're not even gonna get into that. Yeah, because she's underage, so we're not going there. And oh yeah, they. I don't even know if they even explained that Jamie Maddox died during the Death of X storyline, and now he's back. Yeah, they might have explained it in one of the books I didn't read, but yeah, because yeah, given that explanation is probably a little bit. Yeah, at least giving us if this is going to be the flagship title, so many things. If this is going to be the flagship title, right, that is supposed to kick off a new wave of the X-Men and bring back people who've left and bring in new readers and everything, shouldn't they have explained just a tad bit? Just maybe a page or two of recap of some major things that happened, like Jamie Maddox dying, but now he's back. You know, that could have been part of it. Tease his return of, hey, how did he come back from the dead? But this is so I'm gonna skip a couple pages just because there's so much. Because Jamie, whatever reason, whatever's wrong with Jamie, he's oh yeah, and apparently once again, oh once again, now that let's take a step, let's take just 1 second to think of to really understand this. So if you're actually watching on screen, and if you're not watching, if you're just listening, Betsy brought up new telekinetic weapons because she's never used a shield before. She's never created a telekinetic shield. She's never created a telekinetic longsword because those are very common things in Britain. Medieval times, yada yada yada. That stuff is very common in European culture. Screw the katana that she's always wielded for the forever. Screw the katana. Screw the fact that she can create anything telekinetically. So it's not like she hasn't created some cool things before, but yeah, a long sword and a freaking small shield is all of a sudden new. And Jean, oh, don't get me started on how they butchered Jean Grey since she's been returned. They've just butchered her as a character. And oh yeah. So this is Apocalypse. I don't even understand because if I'm not mistaken, this is Genesis, who is a clone of Apocalypse, aptly named original Kid Apocalypse. If I'm not mistaken, this is him. I could be wrong, and if I am, then I would correct myself in a later video. But if I'm not mistaken, this is Genesis. They've never even, I don't even know if they've been explained what happened from the fact that Genesis went from, hey, I am a good guy, and a couple, and one of the storylines where they went into the future, Genesis was grown up, looking like Apocalypse as a grown up, but he was still a good guy. But now he's not. He's a bad guy again. He's a bad Apocalypse. Okay. I'm not even going to get into the absolute travesty of these stories other than I'm going to show you this is Bishop, because the artist, I'm sorry, Mirko Kolak, I'd have been like, yo, dog, we're not putting this shit out. That's exact. I'd have got this art straight up and would be like, yo, we're not putting this shit out. Either redo it or you're fired. Period. Because look at this. Look at this. Look at this right here. This is terrible. Then, okay, this is the gun. If you can see, the gun is a pretty long gun. But then when he shows it again in the next panel, next page, in the next panel, the gun is so off. Like the length of it is off. It's not dynamic. The stance, the terrible. It's just, oh my god, horrible, horrible. So yeah, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. I don't even care about that shit no more. So then we get to X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 2, right? I've been going for so long. I feel like I've been going for so long. And I'm almost done. I promise you, I'm almost done. We're getting to X-Men Uncanny 2, right? Um, we're gonna get to X and pretty much Maddox is back again doing God knows what, because none of us knows what's happening right now. And then there's the team. So this whole issue, the entire issue, is the team sitting around talking about in deciding who should go after the dinosaurs that pop up out of nowhere, who should go stop Jamie Maddox, and the X babies being angry that they've been left behind at the X-Men mansion because they can't handle shit. Because as the previous issue proved, they can't even handle taking down, F list, villains. They can't even handle that. So why would they take them? Because that's the writers. They have decided to just screw over these characters. So the art, tad bit better in this book. Tad bit. It's still flat. It's still boring. The story, oh, the story was actually more boring in this issue than the previous issue. But once again, all we get is once again, large part of the dialogue is just banter and banter. There's a whole there's a whole bit that they do. Let me find the panel. Oh, there's a whole let me find out where it is. There's an entire bit that they do. I don't even know where it is anymore because it's just it's just terrible. Pretty much, there's an entire bit that they do where Bobby's like, "Oh, why didn't I wanted to go see the dinosaurs? Why didn't you send me to go see the dinosaurs? You know I love you the most." And Jean's just like, yeah, okay." Then the team that they originally sent to the dinosaurs, for odd reasons, Jean decides to send them to go deal with Maddox. After she already agreed to send them to go deal with the dinosaurs, she says, "No, no, no, y'all go deal with Maddox. We're going to go deal with the dinosaurs." Because there's no real reason why she did that. She just did it. And then Bobby's like, "I'm so happy, you guys. I got to see the dinosaurs." And she's like, "I told you I love you the most, Bobby." And I was just like, oh, when did they become gay best friends? Like that's like Bobby is the quintessential. He is Jean Grey's quintessential gay best friend, which is like beyond stereotypical, but it's so bad. It's written so poorly. Like he's been reduced to Jean Grey's gay best friend who only can banter with everybody, who cannot take anything serious. So yeah, that's how they write him again. We get cool little thing that still doesn't really bring out. We get a page that doesn't really bring out anything um, much in terms of storytelling, in terms of how awesome it is. Like we don't get that. We don't get any of that. Let's see. Then we like I said, we have the ex babies who are upset that they were left behind. Like when I just said that those three things are the only things that happen, nothing else happens in this entire issue. 22 pages wasted for nothing to happen. And this is a 10-week series, guys. 10 weeks. They've taken a storyline that they arguably could have done in 5 issues and stretched it out to 10 weeks for no reason. And then to make it worse, solicitations have already spoiled that Cyclops is coming back. Apparently, X-Man, Nathan Gray, X-Man, is supposed to play a large part in the story 2 issues in. He's nowhere. So yeah, that was it. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. That was it. Those were the 2 issues. I promise this week's story comic review for this book will be shorter because I won't have went through, the backstory of my time with X-Men. it's I don't even know how I'm gonna get through this. I don't even know. I don't know how I'm gonna get through this series because it's bad. It's just bad. Like the X-Men, like I said, the X-Men haven't been good, hasn't been seriously good for like, and I mean consistently for like 10 years. For well, I won't say 10 years, for like 8 years. I would say the last great titles were ended around 2011, 2012. So they haven't been good since then. So that's 6 to 8 years. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Because like I said, I look back on All New X-Men by Bendis, not all that great. The only title during that time that was great was the only titles during that time that was great were the Uncanny X-Men run that I forgot who wrote it, but it was the one dealing with Cyclops after he killed Professor X, and then Rick Remender's Uncanny Avengers, because that was supposed to be the flagship title back then. And it was only great because he was still going off of his Uncanny X-Force run, and Uncanny Avengers was essentially just a sequel to that, and it was still good. He was still going off of the same storyline, still good, right? In which I will be going back and reading that after I finish his Uncanny X-Force run. But yeah, Marvel has lost all of their best writers. They've lost them. They've lost Remender. They've lost Hickman, Fraction, Bendis. They lost Bendis has been he just stopped writing for them in 2017. Bendis has been lost as a writer to them since his Avengers and New Avengers runs. So yeah, that was like 10 years ago. Bendis hasn't been a good writer since then. Because his Iron Man run, trash. I mean, in his Iron Man run, he did this whole storyline where Tony Stark finds out he's adopted, and his real brother is the real Stark, and he's not the real Stark, and his father's not. So therefore, that one storyline that Bendis wrote negated the entire father-son dynamic that Tony has always dealt with. It negated his mother complex that he's always dealt with. It negated the fact that he believed that his drinking problem was hereditary from his father. That negates all of that because remember, he's adopted. So yeah, once again, Marvel and continuity, they just don't care. So, that the X-Men, the X-Men have been trash. Marvel's lost so many good writers. Oh my God, I'm not even going to talk about the artists because the artists are just, they've fallen off the wagon. And this is all because Marvel doesn't want to pay for talent anymore. They didn't want to pay to keep the best writers. I mean, come on. Back in the day, Marvel let Chris Claremont write X-Men for 16 freaking years. Think about that. They let one guy write one comic for 16 years. They let him branch out, create other storylines, and they let him write new mutants. They let him write all these other. They let him write that. They let him branch out. They let him do other storylines. They let him help create X Factor. They let him do all of this stuff, right? All of this stuff because he was good. He sold. But not just because he sold comics, but because his run was quintessential. They had Grant Morrison back in the day doing X-Men, and they lost him. They had Joss Whedon doing X-Men, and even though I'm not a fan of Joss Whedon all the time, some of his writings, and I haven't even read his Astonishing X-Men, from what I hear, everyone loved it. They had Rick Remender. Like, imagine, okay, you know what? I was perfectly fine with Rick Remender doing X-Men, doing Uncanny Avengers. But you know what I would have also offered him? I would have also offered him the main X title. I'd have been like, hey, do you want to do Uncanny Avengers and X-Men? Or even if he didn't want to write two books at once, I would except his Uncanny Avengers. But the moment I took him off Uncanny Avengers, I would have been like, all right, what else do you want to do? You can have the pick of anything in the entire Marvel catalog to do because he gave them great stories. Fraction. Fraction did a like nice little run on the X-Men. You had Ed Brubaker's run on the X-Men was doing well back in the day. Like they had so many great writers. I mean, come on. After Hickman finished with his Avengers run, you know what I would have did? I'd have been like, yo, do X-Men now. Please. Please do X-Men now. You just gave us this amazing Avengers run over 2 books, so we know you can handle yourself. Here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna give you the main X book if that's all you want. We'll let you go wild with it. Create one storyline, create whatever you want. It's yours. Go wild with it. That's what you do. You cultivate. The problem that Marvel isn't doing anymore is they're not cultivating talent. They're getting talent, they're using it, and then they're throwing it away. They don't cultivate that talent anymore. And now the talent that they do have, they're not even cultivating them to use them correctly. They're just letting them run wild. They letting them literally they let the inmates run the asylum now. And now they're just doing whatever they want. And it's bad. It is bad. I mean, come on, Ed Brisson, Matthew Rosenberg, and Kelly Thompson together have not written a single issue, which is only 2. The other one comes out this week. Together have not written a single issue that I have found good. Not the only one either. You can go read reviews. All the reviews I've looked at, a lot of the reviews I've looked at for these books say the same things. This title's missed the mark. This title's too big. This title's too big for what is for these writers. Oh, this title's not good, etc. No one likes this. No one likes this at all. At all. And this is what we got. This is what we're getting. Terrible writing. I mean, come on. You know, I understand. I completely understand why Matt Kent isn't doing it. But dog, come on. They like Robert Venditti, right? He was doing a book at DC and a book at Valiant at the same time. He was doing Green Lanterns, with the Green Lantern book, and doing the Exo Manowar book at Valiant and DC at the same time. I would have been like, hey, Matt Kent, like I would have poached him. I'm sorry. I would have been like, Matt Kent, we want you to come over here and we've seen what you've done at Valiant. We know you have the ability to write. I mean, if you really want to read some amazing sci-fi, amazing work, period, Matt Kent at Valiant, his Unity run, Divinity, I haven't even got to it yet, but from everything I've heard, it's just phenomenal. From everything I've heard, his Exo Manowar stuff is phenomenal. So I would have been like, hey, Matt Kent, please, can you come over here and can you do something with us? Right? I would have pulled Matt Kent. I would have pulled, like, they lost Kieran Gillian. Okay. There's so much actual talent. And then let's not even get started on the Comicsgate talent that's out there. Like, let's not even get started on the actual talent that is out there that they've given up on. They've completely thrown it away. They've completely thrown it away. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I just don't want to read your stuff anymore. Like I said, because I'm an X-Men fan, I'm going to continue this series. I'm going to continue bringing it to you. I'm going to try to actually bring it to you every week now. But I'm going to continue bringing this series to you every week. Shorter reviews next time because I won't rant so much. But I'm actually going to try to do more live streams every day. Not every day. Yeah, I can't do that every day because of school and stuff. But I'm going to try to give you more live streams throughout the week. And then, of course, we have the main podcast, the Biz podcast, where it's me, Isaiah, and Zach, and or Isaac, depending on what he goes by. And I'm going to bring those to. We're going to bring those to you hopefully on a better schedule, but work, life, all of that. But yeah, guys, that just it was bad. It was bad. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I don't even know how I'm gonna get through reading the rest of these books because each issue is terrible. So they do have a 7.99 comic. They have the next, what, I think it's in January. They're doing a 7.99 issue again after the. I'm not spending $8 on that book. So I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna find a way to get it either for the low or however I'm gonna get it. But I ain't spending $8 on that book. I already spent $8 on Uncanny X-Men issue 1. I'm not spending $8 on Uncanny X-Men, whatever issue that issue comes out to be, because it sucks and I don't need it and I don't want it. So that was it, guys. Thank you to the viewers who are going to watch this eventually, hopefully, because no one watched it now, which is all right. I'm starting out just trying this. This is my first live stream by myself, actually, bringing something to you guys. Um, yeah, I really actually had a lot of fun talking about this stuff. So, like I said, I'm going to be bringing it to you on hopefully a much more regular basis. All right, that was it. And I am out. Peace.